can't help but give an update on the crypto market, what has happened since the last video. I warned about a possible breakout of this level, and the breakout did happen. On my other social media, where I post content more quickly and in greater volume, I announced the same thing, that we would most likely see a drop here in the coming days. But what actually happened? The level was broken, we traded just below it for a bit, then shot up vertically in a V-shape, just like it happened here and here as well. This kind of movement is not typical for the market. The fact that I can't stay this, they're simply holding it up, just holding it up. I don't know exactly why, or rather, I have a guess. It's to prevent sellers from pushing the price down, to linger here near the all-time high for a while, maybe to accumulate, and then make another move with a vertical takeoff. But I don't think that's gonna work, because all the timings when there should have been a vertical takeoff once, twice, 3 times, maybe even 4 times here, all those timings have been completely missed. Will there just be a random spontaneous spike upward? Most likely no. But if it does happen and you are out of position, for example, in my previous video I mentioned that I sold the Ethereum I had accumulated and explained why then. Let's figure out what to do so you don't miss a vertical takeoff. Bitcoin. It's probably not worth entering. In any case, if there is a vertical takeoff here, it will be small. It's unlikely to give us something like a 2x or even plus 50%. Considering that the vertical takeoff here is an example from November 2024 was so weak, there's no strength at all right now. All the timing has been missed. In other words, the market is not ready to buy vertically right now. And even if something like that does happen, the growth will most likely be small. On the other hand, we have oversold altcoins that are at the bottom, and against Bitcoin, they look like this. Let me show you. What does this chart mean? It shows the ratio of the altcoin market capitalization to Bitcoin's market capitalization. And this red zone here, do you see it? What is it? It's the area I marked a long time ago as the potential bottom. Just based on historical data, we had the last alt season and then came the crypto winter. And just by looking at the 1000 period moving average, from the moment it shifted from an upward phase to a downward one, from this peak, from the extreme point, I calculate what the minimum value was on this chart. It was minus 58%. I did the same calculation here, and it turned out to be roughly in this area. So if the ratio from the past repeats itself now, then the bottom could be somewhere around here. And as you can see, the price is currently right in this zone. This does not mean that this is the bottom right now. It does not mean that altcoins are about to go up. It does not mean that an alt season is coming soon and that you should buy altcoins. No, it simply means that potentially somewhere around here, there could already be some good long-term entry points for buying. Let me emphasize once again that this chart is against Bitcoin, not against the dollar. So if suddenly altcoins remain roughly flat against Bitcoin, but Bitcoin itself drops against the dollar, let's say by about 50%, that means altcoins will also drop by about 50% against the dollar. This chart is specifically against Bitcoin. For the past 2 years, I have been trading on the Bybit exchange. It is the #1 platform in terms of trading volume and liquidity. This means your orders will be executed here at the best prices and with minimal slippage. Just from this alone, you'll be saving several $100s a month compared to trading on any other exchange. In addition, the fees here are low, and if you register using my referral link in the description, you'll receive a bonus ranging from $50,000 to $30,000 depending on the size of your deposit. Go to the provided link in the description right now, then simply click on this button and see what amazing bonus you'll actually get for registering today. On average, my subscribers receive about $100 for registering on the Bybit exchange. But if you have a large deposit and the corresponding trading volume, you can receive up to $30,000 as a bonus. The link is below. Register, it only takes a few minutes. This chart here is specifically for Bitcoin. So if you have to choose whether to enter the market into Bitcoin, which no one wants to buy back, but is being artificially held up for what purpose, I don't know, maybe to create a spike in the near future or to look at altcoins, it's definitely better to look at altcoins. And this video, as I mentioned at the beginning, is specifically for those who are in a situation similar to mine. You've exited the market and are wondering what if they actually push it up? How do you avoid being left without a position? How do you make a profit? Look towards altcoins. I won't give you specific top tickers right now because I haven't decided myself yet. In any case, I won't be buying in the near future. Referring to the information from the previous video, I think the market is going to fall. This artificial V-shaped rebound won't really change anything. All the timing for vertical takeoff, as I said, has been missed. So based on that, I think the market will fall anyway. But if it doesn't, then yes, take a look at altcoins. I'll just give you a general picture and understanding of which coins can actually be considered for purchase. But this is not financial advice telling you to go out and buy these specific ones. No, I myself haven't decided yet which coins I'll pick in which scenario, but nevertheless, there's time. There's definitely time to build positions in altcoins. In particular, you should go for those altcoins that are at least at their local bottom, and that will bounce off from there. So, for example, take a look. We have Trust Wallet token, which is not just at a local bottom, but at an all-time low. Or am I mistaken? Let's check on another exchange, on Binance. No, it's not at an all-time low, it's actually at a local bottom. And using Trust Wallet token as an example, I'll show you technically how a really good entry point works so you don't miss out on growth potential. We take the previous lows, mark a level based on them, and right now the price is slightly below those previous lows. You can also mark the absolute minimum value and look at the range as well. Right now the price is close to the zone, even a bit below it, and yes, that's a negative sign. In fact, from a certain perspective, it's even a short entry point. But you should only short here if Bitcoin is going to fall, because if Bitcoin doesn't drop, it really doesn't matter that the price is consolidating below the lows. It could also rise along with Bitcoin. So you shouldn't be shorting right now because Bitcoin isn't falling, but you also shouldn't be buying. In other words, it's clear that trying to guess that this is the bottom right now is not a good idea. You should only pay attention to those coins that are currently low, not at their highs. Specifically the ones with rebound potential. If Bitcoin suddenly surges vertically, these coins will bounce back. So when should you buy them if not now? At those moments when it becomes clear that a bottom has formed and the price is coming out of that bottom, what do? We see a downward trend, we mark this downward trend like this. What do we do next? We mark the levels. I've just marked the bottom levels right in front of you. And here there was some kind of head and shoulders pattern. We also marked the level at the last high. And two factors must coincide. First, the price must break out of the downward trend. So here's the downward trend, bam, the price breaks out of it. That's one. Two, it must consolidate above the key levels. Ideally, when the price exits the downward trend, it should consolidate above the previous downward high. Here it is. So this would be the best scenario. And right here would be the optimal entry point with the potential for a further impulse. Specifically for Trust Wallet, this might not be the ideal scenario, because before consolidating above the previous high, there could still be quite a significant upward move, and it could be so large, about 30%, that it might actually be exhaustive. Bitcoin shoots up a little bit, let's say by about 15 to 20%, then maybe drops down here, then grows by 30%, and that could actually be it. So, Trust Wallet is not the perfect coin. I am just using it as an example to help you understand the patterns, showing them to you on Trust Wallet. This is the ideal scenario. This is the perfect entry point where you should buy in case of a trend reversal or when expecting some kind of rebound. Should you buy, for example, right now at the very bottom? Now Bitcoin is about to rise. Yes, now it will pull everything up. So Artem, when you say it's time to buy, that's when I'll sell. Well, some people do that. That's not the best strategy. In the long run, it won't lead to good results in the moment. Whether you'll get lucky or not, I can say. Maybe you'll get lucky. I don't trade based on luck, I trade according to a system. And I will only buy if there's a trend reversal and a consolidation above the levels. There's an option to consider if, for example, this area already seems too high to you and you feel like you'll miss out, of course, you can look at these more local levels. Well, in this case, this one looks more promising. That is, if the price, for example, breaks the trend line, goes above the level, then somewhere around here you can buy. Here, a legitimate bottom is forming, which can, at the very least, give an upward impulse to about the same level as the previous bottom, about 15%, and then consolidate above the next level. You could also hold for a while longer there, draw some kind of trend, and then exit when the trend changes. So this is a standard scenario that you can trade. There's nothing wrong with being out of the market. In my opinion, that's the right approach. Otherwise, I wouldn't be out of the market myself. But to avoid missing the moment, keep an eye on the altcoins that are currently at the bottom. If they start to move up from the bottom, just enter those coins. Be very careful and very cautious. The main thing is to look at altcoins that are at their all-time low. For example, something like OMSGO. Take a look, it's currently at its all-time low. And here you really need to be extremely careful, because on the one hand, from an all-time low, you can catch insane gains just on a bounce up to 2x, for example, or even 3x. Just like it happened recently, for example. But this is very risky and dangerous, because an all-time low is one of those things when coins get squeezed like this. It's something that in the long run mostly trades according to the trend. So if we have an all-time low that the price is pressed up against and Bitcoin sneezes downward, this thing bends just a little, breaks through that very all-time low and just drops by minus 50%. This is the primary scenario for how an all-time low squeeze is traded. No other way. That's it. So mainly focus on those altcoins that are at the bottom, but not at their all-time low, rather at some local bottom of their own. And when a bottom is forming, that's when you should pick them up. As for some new hyped coins that are just crashing like this, and it's unclear where or what to buy at all. And every new dip is an all-time low that's not worth picking up either. I mean, only do it at your own risk if at all. This applies to Miami, STRK, TLM, and really most coins that have appeared not so long ago there in this kind of situation. I really don't recommend them. Only consider them at your own risk. It's better to look at something like Algo, for example, which is at the bottom, yes, but not at its all-time low. And here, when these levels are broken, though they're not specifically marked here, it's basically the same zone. When these levels are broken, when the downward trend, which can be marked like this, is broken, then you can consider buying. So take Algo, for example, it seems to have higher lows and there's potential from this double bottom. Here there's a local trend line and this trend impulse was broken a while ago. Now we're already in a sideways range, drawing a bottom near the lower boundary, and we can bounce off this lower edge. If Bitcoin starts to rise now, this asset will also break out and exit its downtrend, moving past its key level. So somewhere around here you could consider buying. This is a rough plan for how not to miss the next impulse, if it happens, though I don't think it will. But just in case, that's my plan for how I won't miss the next impulse. Whether you want to listen to me or not is of course up to you. As I said, you could try buying some altcoin that's currently at its all-time low, just on a whim. If the market really does give an impulse, you'll make money, but trading randomly isn't a good idea. This is a well thought out plan that will definitely let you profit. And how could things go wrong or not as expected? Well, only if, for example, the impulse happens now, but it's very weak, and it just brings the altcoin up from the bottom to the nearest level where I would buy. The impulse will end, but that will already be apparent the potential, and prospects for the continuation of this impulse will be clear if and when it actually happens. So if after the impulse happens, it quickly consolidates and starts to reverse, then in that case, we simply won't buy. That's it. To get updated information about the market, subscribe to the channel and also follow my other social media through the links below. I post more content there and do it more promptly. That's my plan. I'm staying out of the market. My main scenario is downward. But if that's not the case, I've already explained what I'll do. As for what you should do, think for yourself, make your own decisions. Good luck!